when I go to meet the bird, the bird drive me out to meet the mouse. No, Nezumi. To meet the mouse, and the mouse look at me. Oh, you are not my group. You are not the mouse. Because you have wing. You should go to meet the bird. That's why I am in the middle.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
So you are in the middle between two things.
Yeah, between two things.
Okay.
I try to apply my research to engineering. Engineering said, oh, you have so many paper about because the engineering paper is not enough. And then they drive me out to social sector, to like education or some social research. And social research group also, oh, it is not enough for social. You should go to engineering, something like that. That's why I am in the middle, and I cannot apply for my position. That's why I still be only a kind of a normal doctor, not related to education. That's my problem.
So in LJI, so how many now teachers likely, who got doctoral degree?
I think all. I think we now we don't have associate professor and professor in LJI. That's why we are doing do something like a relative way, not absolute way, relative way, because if we compose together, then the number of paper or thesis might be enough number. Yeah. But because they think just only side by side, like engineering is only engineering, social science is also social science. That's why I try to complain to committee. And because of I study about semiconductor, actually. Actually, I study about semiconductor, but because after I come back from Japan, actually I try to work more in Silicon Valley. That was my dream. When I finished from Japan, I tried to Silicon Valley, but I lost. Not success. That's why I come back home and do anything that I can do. And the university assigned me to many places, like to be the director of IT center and relate to some education, some e-learning, some many things with education, and something related to economic study, management. And then because of I understand about Japanese. That's why the university they assign me to LJI now. That's why I am not bird. I am not mouse.
I see. But nowadays, many countries they encourage kind of interdisciplinary research. Yeah. So they encourage the scholars with engineering and the scholar with management. So let them research together.
Okay, I think now because student already.
Okay, so shall we start? Okay.
Yes.
So good evening, everyone. So finally, this will be the last class. So 3 hours and a half, right? You will be released for free. So please be patient for the last 1 day. Okay. So for today, since we haven't done a lot of things which I prepared before, right? Before starting the class. However, I think we had more discussion and more group works, right, with Japanese students. So I think that way somehow there are some good parts, right? So for today, what I'd like to start is yesterday, if you remember, right, last 10 minutes, I speed it up a little bit about the explanation. So I will spend a little bit, right, repeatedly again about last 10 minutes components of yesterday. And then after that, what I can do is you can choose, right, what you want to study. Right, option one is I can explain Thailand plus one strategy. Have you ever heard of the term Thai plus one strategy? Probably not. No. Actually, that term, I am the one of the person who created that term for Thailand. So I'm not sure. In Thailand, everyone knows. In Japan, some people knows, but I'm not sure in Laos how many of you know. Right? So first option is I can explain what does Thailand plus one strategy and how it is different from China plus one strategy. And this is option one. Option two, now Mekong region, Mekong, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam, and Thailand. Right? Those Mekong region, Mekong countries have been growing, as you know, right, as an emerging market. But at the same time, including China, right, they have some problems, some potential issues. Right? So option two is I can explain what kind of problems do we need to overcome. I mean, when I say do we, meaning that those emerging Asian countries, what kind of difficulties they will face. Right? This is the second option. The third option, right, is as I explained yesterday, understanding numbers are quite important for business person, right? And I found out some of you are not that much familiar with those numbers. Right? So if you want, I can also explain the numbers, right, with very easy example, right, by using the example of business model. Okay, so I have three options. Right, so which one you prefer? I think Taro-san can count, students' preference, so that I can do either one because we have only 3 hours, and so I cannot teach all contents. Right. So first one, the potential of emerging Asia, especially in the Mekong region, right? Focusing on Thailand plus one strategy. Second one is problems or issues, right? Which China, Thailand, Vietnam will face. This is also important for you to know. And the third one is more like, not about emerging Asia, but it's more like the business model. Okay.
We can choose one or we can choose two.
I think one or two. Right? Of course, if we have a time, I can continue to explain as much as possible. Right?
Thank you.
Okay. So Taro-san, can you count, and then I can start teaching either one.
We can set on the to the set box, right? We can put on the set box.
No, just raise a hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Taro-san can count as you like.
Yeah, so please use a reaction function like hand gesture. This one. So I can count it. So for those likes to have option one, so raise a hand. I mean the reaction. Make a reaction.
You can explain what is option one.
Option one is the potential of this innovation.
Sorry, maybe I come late. I don't get your point. Could you explain more a little bit? Sorry.
So Fujioka Sensei offers 3 options, right? I mean, 3 options about what he's going to talk to you today, you know, because you have just 3 hours limited. So Fujioka Sensei lets you, decide which topics you prefer to listen. And then Fujioka Sensei offering 3 options, right? So number 1, so he will discuss about the potential of this region, right? And then number 2,
potential focusing on Thailand plus 1 strategy, comparison with China plus 1 strategy. Okay.
So he's going to explain about Thai plus 1 and its potential. And then number 2, so he's talking about issues which, China, Thailand, and Vietnam will face the difficulties. And then number 3, so just, general business model, the current business model. It doesn't matter, where they are, just, he picked up the latest model or in a more general model.
No, just the basics of business model. So first one is, exploring opportunities by introducing regional strategy called Thailand plus 1, which is slightly different from China plus 1 in Mekong region. Right? This is first one. And then second one is issues and problems which might face by some of the Mekong countries, meaning that there is opportunities. Right? Because Thailand, China, Vietnam, they will face difficulties. Right? So for our people on the other side of the coin, you have a chance, right, to complement that kind of problems for them. Right? And third one is more like very general business model. Right? If you understand numbers a little bit, what kind of things, right, you can analyze or you can understand some other person's, other company's strategies by just looking, very basic kind of numbers. So I want to use the example of McDonald's. Do you know McDonald's? Do you have McDonald's in Laos? KFC.
We know, but we don't have.
Oh, you don't have.
If you cross
Udon Thani, you can find McDonald's, right? If you cross the river to Thailand, yeah, so I can use the example of McDonald's. Okay, so Taro-san, can you come?
Okay, so let's do this. So all of you use a chat function. So some of you already did. So just put a number out of just one number from 3. So you just put 2, 3, 1, whatever you like, and I will count.
Recording in progress.
So far 4 people. Okay. So go on. 2.
Okay, I think most students would like to know more about problems or issues rather than opportunities. Because at any conference, a lot of people talk about opportunities, right? Because now you have an infrastructure, right? And you have an economic corridor, right? So that's how you're going to utilize those kind of corridors, infrastructure, in order for you to develop. And AEC, ASEAN Economic Community, it was 2015, right? But after that, how you can utilize as a manufacturing hub, right, as a region, right, region as a manufacturing hub. So I think most of you know about potential, right, or about your region, right, but I think a lot of you are not aware of the problems, right. So let us start talking with the issues, and if we have a time, right, I can spend some more time for other topics. Okay, but before moving that, I can just wrap up yesterday's part for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to start talking about key problems or key challenges which emerging to Asia might face. And when I say emerging Asia, is including China, ASEAN countries, right? Especially those countries. Okay. So I think most of countries that you are familiar with. Okay. So can you make for us to be able to share the slide? Please. Thank you. Now I still cannot share.
Okay, Sensei, can you allow the Kurioka Sensei to share the slide?
Yes, I'm doing.
Okay.
Yes, please take your time.
Sorry.
No problem at all.
Okay. You say I forgot to let's say. Can you?
Yes, now I can. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yes.
So now everyone can see the slide.
Yes, can see.
Yes.
Okay, so yesterday, I thought that we learned the speed of change, right? And we cannot predict future, right? And uncertainty, level of uncertainty is quite high. So in that context, how are we going to survive? And speed of change is enhanced by a lot of newly emerging technologies, right? And for strategic management, right, how we are going to cope with this problem. Right? So as I explained, we try to understand environment from two different ways. Right? One is environmental factors. Right? We divide some parts. Right? We divide environment into two. Situation into two. One is environmental factors, and the other one is so-called strategic variables. Okay? So for first one, right, understanding the environment in which our business operates, right, where we are living, right, and basically we cannot change it by ourselves, right? Like globalization, now trend of globalization is quite, you can see a lot of trend of the globalization, right? Because everyone use iPhone, everyone wear similar clothes, everyone watch same cartoon, movie, right? A lot of people speak English, even us, right? We are Japanese and Lao people, and some Chinese people, we are using English, right? However, right, if you don't like globalization, but this is not something that we can change, right? And the COVID-19, right, you might not like, and of course we don't like. However, we cannot change it. It's same as digitalization, right? So this kind of things, right, are important for us because we are operating business in those kind of contexts. However, that kind of things is a given context, right? So we cannot change, so we have to take it as it is. Okay? And those kind of things we cannot change, but important for us to formulate strategy. This is what we call environmental factors. Okay? And then, right, within this given context, right, within the context of globalization, within the context of digitalization, what kind of things as a top executives you should do, right? What kind of variables you need to manage. Right? This is what we call strategic variables. Right? This is not fact. This is choice. Right? Globalization is not a choice. It's already fact. Right? But within the fact, what kind of things are you going to focus on? What do you want to do with given context? Right? So you have several options. Right? And how are you going to prioritize those options? This is what we call strategic variables. So this is a choice. Right? So what do you want to be, depending on where you want to go, right? And third, right, then not only for us to understand the environment and selecting our strategic variables, right? We also need to adapt ourselves or change ourselves, right, to the ideal conditions, right? And we need to know how to do that, right? This is a know-how. But more importantly, last but most importantly, we need to understand where are we going to? Why does farms exist? Why are you working? What you're working for? The purpose, values, value axis. This is what we have studied yesterday, right? And how you want to be, or being, or in other terms, becoming. Okay? So to put all of those concepts into one, right? First one, in order for us to survive in the turbulent environment, right? We need to understand where we are now. So this is as is, right? This is what environmental analysis provides. So 5 forces model, right, provide information for us to understand as is situation. Okay? And then, right, when we understand where we are now, next step is what we wish to be. Okay? But there is a gap between wish to be and as it is. Right? So we have to fill in those gaps. Right? But when we try to fill in those gaps, we need to understand what is your purpose or value axis. Right? We saw a lot of pictures yesterday. Okay? And to fill in those gaps, there are a lot of options, right? Many variables, right? And there is no single right way for us to achieve the goals. Right? There are thousands of ways, right? But depending on you, how you move to from as is to wish to be. Okay? So those kind of variables, how you are going to manage, right? This makes a difference. Right? This is what we call strategic variables. Okay? And then, right, more important thing is to put those concepts or theories, right, whiteboard or figures into practice. Right? So you have to put them into strategic action. This is what we have studied, right? And again, right, in order for us to understand as it, the current situation or current status, right? This is very basic formula, right, of 5 forces analysis. Right? So I'm not going to explain one by one, but the point is how you are going to avoid potential threat, right, which is new entrance and substitute, and how we are going to manage the powers of suppliers and buyers in order for us to gain and sustain competitive advantage. Right? This is a framework. Okay. So again, going back to the basic, right? This is a very basic structural form of formulating strategy. Okay. So first, you need to have your own philosophy and the vision, mission, objectives. Right? Objectives include your business domain, to whom, what kind of things, how are you going to provide the value proposition. Okay? In order for us to do so, we have to understand environment. And when we say environment, there are 2 different types of environment. First one is external environment. Right? The other one is internal environment. Right? By combining this, right, we can formulate corporate strategy. I'm not sure if you still remember about the differences among corporate strategy, business strategy, and functional strategy. Okay, so for corporate strategy is strategy for you to allocate your corporate resources. Right? If you have some divisions, right? Some many other business units, then how you are going to allocate corporate resources, right, into different divisions or business unit. Right? This is corporate strategy. So corporate strategy is more about resource allocation, right, across whole organization. Then once we finish allocating the resources, right, including budget, people, or even technology, right, then each business unit need to compete with competitors over customers. Right? So in order for us to attract customers, we have to compete, right, within defined segment or service or products. Right? This is the scope of business strategy. Right? In other terms, this is what we call competitive strategy. Okay. And when we formulate corporate strategy and business strategy, right, we need to align with a lot of operations, right? HR, right? Advertisement, manufacturing, procurement. Those functions require the strategy as well. Right? So procurement strategy, HR strategy, marketing strategy, all of those things are called as functional strategy. Okay? So this is what we have studied, right, over the last few sessions. Okay? So in order for us to put those concepts into practice, right, we exercised by using the case of Lego. Right? This is very basic one. Even at Meiji Business School, Waseda, right, or Kellogg, or Sashin School, we use same case. Okay? So for Lego case, right, their vision philosophy are written in the principles of Lego. Right? They have 10 principles. I'm not sure if you still remember, right? But when you feel that you want to study more, you can reopen the case, okay, so that you can find those 10 principles. And their mission, vision is they want to be the world's strongest brand among families, right, with children by 2005, right, at that time in the case. Okay? In order for them to achieve, right, this kind of vision and mission, they had to understand the current situation, right? Their environmental situation and also internal situation. Okay, so if we apply very basic frameworks like 3C model, right? First we need to understand ourselves, and then we need to understand our customers, right? At the same time, we also need to respond on the movement of competitors. Okay? But this 3C does not provide whole picture. So this is the reason why we apply 5 forces model. Right? And then, right, after identifying, right, key important factors, if you remember, what was the most important factor for the Lego case? Do you still remember? Who was the customer?
Kids. Like kids and retailer and family member.
Very good, very good. Right, it's big retailers. Right. Initially, when we started discussion, a lot of people talk about it's the kids or children, or our main competitors are Toys R Us, right, as a toy shop. Right. However, right, if we analyze a little bit more, we found out, right, the retailers like Walmart and Target, right, are very important buyers for us, right? So if we define, like, to manage those negotiation power are essential for us to keep ourselves, right, to be sustainable. Right? In order for us to do so, we have to make them happy. same as we make our kids or our parents happy, right? But the point, right, how they feel happy are slightly different from the kids and the parents. Right? Kids' case, as far as they can get some nice characters goods, they are happy. Right? For the parents, if their kids are happy, the parents are happy. But for retailers are not. Right? What they were expecting from us, how we can make them happy, if you remember. How we can make them happy. I mean, them means Walmart, Target.
Help them to promote. Right?
Yes, please say again. Yes. One more time. I couldn't hear.
Help them to do activity to promote sale.
To promote sale, to help them to sell more. This is one. Anything else? How we can make retailers happy?
Discount and give me some product. Yeah. For retailer. If they take a lot, should give some special for the retailer.
It's good. So give discount, meaning that to reduce cost to them, meaning that to help them to gain more profit. Right? So first one is to make profitable for them. Right? Any other important factors? Right? Help them to sell more. Right? This is important. Right? Providing more profitable goods. Right? It's important. And what else? If you remember. We talked, margin, right, is important for them. But one more factor. Do you remember one more factor? To determine how profitable for the goods for them.
Make new design, right?
Make new design. Yeah, designing is also important. Right? Yes, but what else? Right? If new design, they can sell more product. Right? Right? If we can sell more product, what happens? Do you remember like this?
Increase benefits or profits from new product.
Yes, that's right, that's right. But any specific term we have studied, do you remember? If we have two companies, company A and B, right? And both companies have 5% of gross margins, right? They are selling same product. Which company is good? Right? This is what I asked the question, right, to you. And everyone said it's same, right? Because both of them are 5% gross margins. However, I said gross margin itself doesn't tell actual profit to the firm. Why was the reason? Right? That one is profit and loss statements indicators. Right? Only profit and loss. It's a flow of activities, revenue, cost, profit. Right? On the top of that, what kind of things do we need to carefully watch? Do you remember?
Turnover ratio?
Yes, turnover ratio. Right? So we have to see how much inventory we have. Right? So we have same amount of revenue, right? Same amount of gross margin. Right? Then, right, we need to think how much turnover ratio per year we can enjoy by selling those products. Right? So the profitability is a function of turnover ratio and profitability. Do you remember? Right? So for example, like Uniqlo, right? Do you know the Uniqlo's clothes? Right? Those clothes are cheaper than, for example, Louis Vuitton's clothes. Right? But Uniqlo's, by selling one Uniqlo clothes, maybe they can get $100 per clothes. But for Louis Vuitton's clothes, by selling one clothes, maybe they can get 20,000 or 30,000 as a profit. Right? However, Uniqlo's clothes, right, they can sell more. Right? Maybe 100 to 1,000 per day. Okay? But Louis Vuitton's clothes, they can sell maybe 5 or 10. Right? So which one is more profitable? Depending on not only margin, but also the turnover ratio. Right? How much they can sell per square meter. Right? Because they have limited space, like department store, retail stores. Right? So for them as a retailers, what they need to carefully watch is those functions, right? Those two functions, two factors, turnover ratio and gross margin. Right? Does anyone remember how does it call those indicators? Do you still remember? What is the name of indicator? We have a specific name. Does anyone still remember?
Cross ratio? No?
Yes, it's a cross ratio, right?
Yeah.
Right. So for us, in order for us to make retailer or department store happy, right, what we need to do is not just providing, the new product, but also we can give more physical support, right, for them to improve their cross ratio. Right? Because our competitors are not other toys, right, but chocolate, cookies, or even dog food. Right? We have to compete with that kind of product. This is what we have studied yesterday. Right? So when you use 5 forces model, right, important thing is first you have to define those factors by yourself. And then you have to prioritize which factors are you going to manage. Right? Which factors might influence the most on your strategy, right? Or your profitability. Right? Then by defining your customers, retailers as customers, then your competitors or substitute, right, is changed from other toys, right, to the grocery, dog food, furniture, right, that kind of other products. This is how we define, right, by utilizing this, left-hand side analysis. Okay. However, right, just analyzing things are not enough. We have to change the way we do business internally. Right? So, in practice, we have to change internal factors. Okay? We didn't have time to explain this in more detail, but this is what value chain analysis provides you. Okay? So, whether or not we have to change the logistics, operations, or outbound supply chain, right, or marketing and sales, or our service system, right, or procurement, technology development, human resource management, farm infrastructure, those kind of things, right? Which part we need to change. Okay. So by combining this, we can finally formulate a strategy. Okay. So to put it simple, right, assessing environment, a very basic model is for us to analyze external environment by using several frameworks. Right? And the 5 forces model is one of the examples. But on the top of that, we also need to analyze internal environment. Right? If you apply 5 forces model, we can just apply value chain analysis. Okay? So if you are interested in this point or in the competitive strategy, right, you can open the textbook, right, so that you can get more knowledge about this bar. Okay. And then, right, we have to identify key issues. Okay. So again, right, firms are competing, right, in order for us to gain and sustain superior performance than the average of the industry. So in order for us to gain above average, right, of the profitability in industry, we need to provide acceptable proposed values. Right? But in order for us to propose, right, in order for us to supply proposed value, right, we need to analyze, right, our competitive situation, right, and we have to define our target. Right? So Lego case, again, this was a retailer, right? But defining target is not enough. Right? We also need to consider our resources and capabilities. Okay. So by combining this, we can create proposed value to the customers. Okay. So this side, right, and that side, this blue and green, right, part, by combining two, you can create the value to the customers. Okay. So I explain different way. Right? This is customer, competitors, right? And we have to set up key success factors like this. Okay. And then we also need to understand our company. Okay. So I just make it a little bit complicated 3C analysis. Okay. But if you just focus on this, only 3C. Okay. But when we say company, right, we have to think about, right, finance, marketing, and HR, operation, procurement, all of those things. Okay. And when we talk about customer and competitors, we need to understand key success factors. Right? So we have to make those two parts, right, to be consistent. So this is a conceptual framework. Okay. In order for us to do so, right, we have to set up STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Okay. This is you might have already studied the marketing process. Okay. And the Legos case, right, this is what we have done. For the customers, right, we identify this red color one, this one, right, as the most important customer. And then we identify some competitors, right? At the same time, right, we had a lot of issues, right? We have a lot of low cash flow, right? We had a problem with inventory system. We had a problem of logistics, right? We had a problem with organizational structure. So we had to improve those internal things in order for us to provide a more attractive proposal value to the customer. Okay. And in here, right, since we define Walmart as customer, right, competitors of Walmart, we also need to understand, right? And we also need to understand customers of Walmart. Who are they? Okay. So in order for us to put our strategy into practice, right, 3C analysis plus our cooperators, with whom are we going to do business? Right? Our collaborators, who are our collaborators? Plus channel and context. Right? So 3C plus another 3C. Cooperators, channel, and context. Right? So actually 6 C's approach. This is how I use in the consulting practice. Right? So once we analyze, like that way, the competitors are not only Mattel, Hasbro, right, or other toy shops, but we could identify cookie, chocolate, dog food as a competitors. right? Or substitute. Okay, this is what we have studied. Okay, so just put it into the basic frameworks, right? In this part, right, our target is giant retailers. Right? And our resources, capabilities, what we had to do is inventory management, production line, right? And collaborating with retailers. Okay? By so doing, right, we could provide high cross ratio, right, profitable products to retailers, right, so that retailers can enjoy 5 times more than profitable, more than the margin, right, than before. Okay, because they had to also compete with dog food. Okay. So the key point here, I'm not going to repeat it again, but ratio of inventory, right? Investment, it was 38% before, right? But by doing so, they could increase to 150%, right? So that retailer's margin increased by 5 times. Right? This is what we have studied, right, with the case. Okay? So the point is, in the period of uncertainty, right, what we need to do is, right, not just adapting to the environment, but we have to move for us to think. Not after thinking, we're gonna move. Right? Because even we think, right, even we spend a lot of time, we can never draw the exact future. Okay? More important thing is what kind of future you want to create. What kind of future, right, we can create together. Okay? So the best way to predict the future is to create it, not to adapt it. Create future by your own self. Okay? So the famous quote, right, is it is not the strongest species that survive, nor the most intelligent one, but the ones most responsible to change. Okay? So I think this is true for individual, or nation, or company. Okay? This is what we have studied with Lego case. Okay. Are you okay? Okay. So shall we move to the issues of emerging countries? Is that okay, or do you need some break? No. It's too early for the break, right? Still. I'm not sure. But Taro-san, it's too early?
Yeah, I think it's a bit early. Normally we have in 30 minutes, 7.
Okay, so can I continue a bit more? Okay. So we can move to next topic. Okay. This one, but this is a potential part. But most of you are not interested in potential because you know potential, right? Quite well. So I want to talk more about issues. Okay. Yeah. Do you see the slide?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna talk more about the issues for the emerging Asia, especially in this region. Okay. So when we talk about issues, right, actually we have 4 issues, but I made it too simple. So we're gonna talk only 3 issues. Okay. But this kind of things is very commonly shared. So if you apply the work job in the international institute like Asian Development Bank, right, you might be asked this kind of question from examiners. or it's National Central Bank of Japan and Central Bank of Thailand, right? They will not use same framework. Okay. So when you talk about to understand, right, understanding Asia's economic growth, right, what do you need to think is only three things. Okay. There are a lot of facts, but just three things. The first one is the speed of growth, right? Speed of growth in Asia. Okay. The second one is variation in GDP per capita. Okay. Not only at a national level, but also within the city or among the cities. This is the second point. The third point is variation in growth rate of GDP per capita. Right? We are going to see one by one. Okay. So if you see this picture, this is fact one, first fact. Right? This is what we call fast growing Asia. Okay. If you see x-axis, right? This is the size of your GDP per capita. Okay. Horizontal axis, right? This is just a time series, right? From 15th to 2010. Okay. So if you look at this picture, right? What kind of fact you can find? What kind of things you can tell from this picture? Do you see any fact? What kind of things you can tell? You can make mistake, right?
We don't see any graph, but still have a slide for graph of the GDP.
You don't see the slide? Taro-san, do you see slide?
Yes.
Okay, but for some of you cannot see the slide.
I think all people see the
Okay. So what you can tell from this picture, this figure?
You can see the slope.
Yes, slope.
In the slope.
Yes, you can see the slope. Thank you, Ajahn Ponkeo.
Yes.
Anything else? So what kind of things you can tell from this graph? Because if you are appointed as director of, some divisions for you to manage your nation, right? A lot of analysts, economists, right, will give you this kind of figures or graphs, right? After that, how you are going to interpret this, right? How you want to analyze it, and how you want to identify issues, how you are going to cope with those issues are totally depending on you, right? So to practice, to understand, or to read, right, this kind of numbers, graphs, figures are quite important. Okay. So try to think with your brain. If I explain, right, you don't use your brain, right? And the point is not something that I give you the answers, right? The point is how you want to exercise your brain to understand the situation. Any comment?
Professor, I don't know how to observe the graph, but to me, I think if we compare to it look into the graph and then 2000 and 1000 of lower income of economics. So the Asia reacts to only a very, very low income. So it is a risk. It's a bit worried about that because, since 3.9%, but the low incomes are very, very, in the down. So that's what I observed. I'm not sure that's.
But better than Africa, right? If you see.
Yeah.
Right? but lower than Latin America, Middle East, Western Europe, Oceania, and North America.
Yeah.
Right? It's about 12,000, right? US dollar, right? Per capita, per person. Okay. Yes, this is good point. We grown, but still, right, below than other places, right? Very good. Any other point? Like this way.
Excuse me, Professor.
Yes, please.
Why we have low income economics, but this graph is high? It's going down. It's go up. Why?
Now it's going up, right? It's going up. At the point of 1950, right? We are very low, right? But we grow. Are we growing faster than the other place or slower than the other place? If I ask you the question, if you see this kind of graph, the speed of our growth is faster than other place or slower than the other place? Faster or slower? Faster, right? Because the curve, right? If you see, right? So meaning that we are still a bit behind, right? However, if we compare at the point in 1950, right? The gap, right, was narrowed down, right? Meaning that we grown quite fast, right? Right? Do you know how to read the graph? Okay. Okay. So the first fact of growing Asia is, from 1950, right? We grown in terms of GDP per capita 12 times. Right? This is first fact. Okay. Next, this is the second fact. Okay. Sometimes we use this as an exam, right? For the students to answer, right? Even at a consulting firm, if you want to work for a top consulting firm, right, you might need to be asked this kind of question a lot. Okay?
Professor, which tools or software that you use for to analyze these kind of information? Like which software? I mean, Excel.
It's not software. You can make just simply put Excel, and you can just make a graph. But this is very simple. I don't use any software.
Oh, okay.
Right. And this kind of graph or the way we analyze, this is very standard. Okay. It's not only when you analyze the growth of nation, right? You can apply this to the firm or your business division, right? Or your macroeconomies, right? Anything you can apply. Okay. Just to visualize. And if you look at this one, what kind of things you can tell? The important thing is not for you to know the answer, right? Important thing is with given information, what kind of question, right, you can set up. Okay? The ability to set up right question is important. Okay? What do you see or what you can tell from this information? What is x-axis and the vertical axis? What are the this y-axis, vertical axis, right, is same, right? It's GDP per capita, right? And horizontal axis is percent, right, or share of Asian population, right? So if you look at this, what kind of fact you can find out or you can tell?
According to this graphic, China is quite wider.
Yes.
This means big population.
Yes, thank you very much.
And
So,
India is the certain.
yes, like China, right? This is the population, the share of Asian population. So
this graphic is not only the the line graphic, but it is some surface area graphic.
Yes. So meaning that the big, or share, meaning that they have the big population, right, among Asia. So Asia has 100%.
If we turn by the width and the height, it would be surface. This is a surface of total amount.
Yes. Very good point. Right. Thank you very much. So apart from China, which countries are big? Can I ask you a question?
China and India.
India, right? So India also has very big population. Right? So green one is India, and the gray one is China. Okay, and the very slim one, right? What countries are they?
Here, maybe Cambodia.
Yes, Cambodia, right? The other side, and the other top side is Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, Korea, and Japan. Right? They are very tall. So tall mean what with this graph? If taller,
higher income.
High economic income.
Yes, high economic growth. High, right? GDP per capita. So they are more wealthy per person. Right? So again, right? When we say Asia, right, some countries, right, are not that wealthy. Right? Some countries are very wealthy, right?
Very thin.
And some countries are not wealthy that much, but they have a huge population. Okay? This is the situation of Asia. And if we look at a little bit more carefully, right, most of Asian countries, right, of course we have advanced countries, right? Some of the countries like Japan, Korea, right? Hong Kong is now part of China, but Singapore, right? Those countries are advanced countries, right? However, most countries are in the middle income countries, right? So this is the situation of Asia. So for Asia, right, in order for us to enjoy that continuous growth, we have to escape from this middle income situation to higher income situation. But in reality, this is very challenging and the most difficult thing, right, for policymakers to lead with. Not many countries ever successfully transformed from middle income to high income. Okay? Most countries failed to move from middle income to high income. So this is the reason we call this as middle income trap. Have you ever heard the term middle income trap? Okay, so Thailand is stuck with middle income trap. Right? China, of course, now they are stuck in the middle. And most nations are stuck in the middle. And only few countries ever successfully shifted, right, or escaped from middle income trap. Okay? So for Asia, right, in order for us to grow together, right, we have to overcome this situation. Right? So for you, right, as a nation, right, what Laos can provide for them is how you can contribute to China, India to overcome their situation. Right? It's same thing for Japan. Right? If we want to grow together, how we can help China and India to overcome their issues. Okay? now worlds are fighting. Right? However, right, no one can live just by themselves. Right? So if we want to grow as Asia, right, this kind of mutual development mindset are essential. Okay, so this is what we can do. Right? So like needs, right, newly industrialized economies and Japan with higher GDP per capita. Right? However, most of Asian countries, including China and India, are stuck in the middle. Right? This is what we call middle income trap. And this kind of influence will become much more obvious in negative way, especially for China, right? And Vietnam. They will face difficulty. And also Thailand. Thailand will face the problem quite soon. Okay, I'm going to explain what kind of problems they're going to face. And this kind of things, it's almost impossible for them to overcome by themselves. They need help from outside. Okay, China itself cannot overcome. Thailand itself cannot overcome. Right? This is kind of the if you study history, right, you will soon find out how difficult it is. Okay, and then, right, if you look at this picture, what you can tell?
I think the development of each country, because it's
so the brighter place, right? If you look at this, you know, like Tokyo is very bright, right? Osaka, those Japanese coastside is very bright. And you can find Bangkok, Singapore, Hong Kong, right? And some capital city of India, right? You can see very bright side. Shanghai, Beijing, right? Do you see Vientiane?
I see, but no bright.
Not that much bright, but I think soon you will be brighter, right? So the first things you can find out from this picture, right, is you can see where the economic growth are coming from. Okay? And in other words, if you look at even China, right, or even ASEAN, we are growing, right? But only some part of the cities are growing. But if you look at the inside of the nation, or inside of Mekong region, like Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, right, or inside of Thailand, they are still dark, right? So this is the problem, another problem of Asia. Okay, only coastal side developed. So even we are growing, but not growing together. Right? Some places, some people are becoming rich, right? But the rest of them are still remaining as poor. Okay. This is another issue. So as a business person, what we can do? Huh? How we can help them to fill in the gap between someone who has and someone who doesn't have. Okay? So what kind of solution we can provide? This kind of things we need to think. Okay? And if you look at this red part is emerging market. Okay? And white part is traditional market. Okay? And if you look at Bangkok, it's shiny because I give a presentation for Thai government, so I use Thailand. But next time, right, after maybe next summer, I'm gonna change it to Vientiane. Okay. And this is factor 3, right? This is more difficult than factor 1 and 2, right? Because this is not something that you are familiar with, right? It's not usual graph. But if you look at this, right, the left-hand side, right, we have two figures, left-hand side and right-hand side. Right? So if you look at left-hand side, what kind of things you can tell? Anything you can tell?
Japan is a saturated
Yes.
growth.
If you look at thank you, Ajahn Pongkel. Ajahn Pongkel said to Japan, right, once growth,
Saturation.
right, in
Something
the
like during
1960s,
saturation.
right, but
Yeah.
they matured, so saturated the growth, so slowing down the growth. Okay, this vertical axis is a growth rate, right? And the horizontal one is the timeline, time series, right, from 50s to 2015. So if you look at Japan, from 1950s to 60s, they enjoy the growth, right? But since then, the speed of growth slowed it down. Any other part, any other point? Anything that you can tell?
Yeah.
Now, Ajahn Pongkel kindly mentioned about Japan. Right? How about other countries?
We can see ASEAN.
Yes.
It's grow around from 4 to 6. This is the average number.
Yes, like if ASEAN 3, right, it's something like growing in the middle. Any other point? Or Taro-san can also help. I think you had this kind of presentation maybe more than 10 times. So I want to confirm if you were listening about my presentation in the government.
Each period of year. Can you hear me?
Yes, everyone's hearing you.
Okay, so each year of the period, we have a different shooting star. Like in 1960, Japan led the world economy. And in 1970s, NEES countries led the economy. And then same, so 2000, so China is most fastest growing country.
Okay, actually, I gave the answer to him through chat. I just wrote it, the answer to him. So I think, if you look at, right, 1950s to 60s, because we learned, right, Asia was growing. Do you remember the first line? In 1950s to until now, we growed, right? Our growth was 12 times, right, as Asia. But if you look at the contents of those growths, inside of the growth, right, Asia was growing, but not same countries are growing. Right? So first stage, Japan, right, took initiative, right, to shifting up the Asia's growth, right, and then other countries, and recently, right, China, right. But if you look at this, all of those countries, right, who took initiatives to grow, right, everyone went to slow down their growth, right? Even China, right? NEES, right? Japan, Korea, right? So the next question for us is, who will be the next of the growing star in Asia, right? Before Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Korea, NEES, right? This is what we call NEES. Some ASEAN countries, China, but we are getting older. Everyone is getting older. Or if you run too fast, right, you will start feeling tired. Yes, yes. Yes. What Ajahn Ponkel said? Sorry.
If we run fast, and then we will be tired.
Yes.
Say like
Maybe we run too fast.
Some energy is downward.
Yes, energy went up.
Yeah.
Right. So actually, this is the truth for all macroeconomics, right? So at one period, any kind of economics can grow if you reduce your kids. This is what we call population bonus. Population bonus. So all countries, if you want to enjoy, right, to improve your productivity, you can just limit the number of kids. Right? Do you know the reason why? Because productivity is calculated by how many people, right, the workforce, right, and production. Right? So if you have more workforce people, meaning that, right, you can create more product. So workforce is from 15 years old, right, to about 60 to 65 years old. Okay? Because when they are kids, right, they cannot join for the production. Right? So if you limit your kids, right, and your older people are dying, meaning that, right, workforce, proportion of workforce becomes large. Do you know what I mean? So if you limit your kids, you have a time for 15 years to enjoy your growth. Right? If comparing with no limit for the babies. So if you know Chinese policy, right, one kids policy, right, they just follow this policy. And it's not only Chinese. If you run your neighbors' countries' policies, they haven't used the term one kids policy, right? But if they don't give enough support for the new babies, then it's same things. They are limiting the number of babies. So if you look at this, if you study Thailand history, they have done same, right? And other Asian countries, they have done. And Japan is more or less same, right? So the point is, right, we have to grow faster, right? When we can enjoy, while we are enjoying population bonus, because population bonus doesn't last forever. Right? If you play game, right, there is a bonus stage, right? No one can kill us, right? But after a certain period, right, that bonus stage finished, right? So Chinese population bonus is almost to end. Thailand is almost to end. Japan already ended. Right? So this is the reason why we are facing difficulties to growth. Right? So if we look at the other side of the graph, what you can tell? Left-hand side, right, like that. All right, right-hand side, what you can tell? This is slightly different, right? Unique graph, which you are not that much familiar with. This one horizontal line is GDP per capita again, right? Vertical axis, right? This is average growth rate. So actually what I'm doing is I just categorizing, right, the numbers into different ways. I'm just trying to make different shape of the graph in order for us to understand the nature of growth of Asia. What kind of things you can tell? The other side of the graph. You can use same analysis for your product in the company as well. Is that difficult? when we recruit people for Asian Development Bank, right, we ask same question, right, and we give like 10 minutes, and the candidate has to fill in or orally explain, right, and then we're gonna decide whether or not they are well trained or not, right. But this is could be good exercise. Does anyone have any opinion? On the left-hand side, you see some, a lot of graph, right? Red one is China, blue one is Japan, green one is needs, right? Right, something like that. And the purple one is ASEAN 3. Can you read anything from the graph? Why the graph shape, like this? Why like this? It's like a, the poster, right? Up and down. Why is that?
Because of number.
Because what kind of number? Yes, it reflects the number.
Yeah, it's statistic number.
What kind of statistics? The vertical axis is average growth rate, right? And the horizontal axis is GDP per capita, right?
Yeah.
So what does it mean? What does it mean?
It means up and down of the GDP. Right.
Yes.
By many years.
But the point is, right? When they grow very fast, like this, right? But after that, they go down very fast as well. Okay. So if you count the population bonus stage, right, with those growths, right, when you are at the stage of population bonus, right, then growth is very high. On the top of that, when they are shifting from low income to middle income, right, the speed of growth is very high. Okay, but when they reach at a certain size of the economic growth, economic level, then they don't grow more. Right? This is a fact for all nations, right, across the world. So it's same thing, right, for us, ourselves, right? How many of you have kids? Do you have any kids? Actually, Tarao-san used to have 3 kids, but I don't know where they are now. His wife disappeared, so I'm not sure where it is. Right? But the joke aside, how many of you have kids? Do you have? Okay, Hana Watson. How old is he or she now? You don't need to be serious, right? We can just enjoy the class.
11 years old.
11 years old. You have 1 kid or 2 kids? 1?
2 kids.
2 kids. So 11 years, and the other one is how old?
15.
15. Okay. So when your kids is like, 3 years old, right?
Yeah.
Right? So 3 years to 6 years, right? You can see their growth, right? Almost every month, right? If you buy small clothes, right, or new shoes, right? After few months or 1 year, they cannot wear it anymore, right? Or even 11 years old, 15 years old, right? It's same. But how about yourself? You still growing, getting bigger and bigger, and taller and taller?
The taller is not tall, but bigger.
Right? Oh, bigger, yes. It's like Taro-san. right? He can, but he reduced like 30 kilogram, right? Over the past 2 years, he reduced his weight, right? But his height, right, is same, right? But if if someone see your kids, right, when he or she was at the age of 3, and if they see now, right, after 10 years, people cannot recognize, oh, your kids grow this much, right? But when we become at a certain age, like nearly 20, right, then our growth stop. Physical growth is stopped, right? So something like, if you see Taro-san next time, if size of Taro-san becomes double, right, then very strange, right? If I see a Jan Ponkeo 3 years later, if his height becomes like 2 times, then it's strange, right? So it's same things. The economy is the same. When we are young, right, we can grow faster. But at a certain stage, certain level, the speed of growth stop. Physical growth stop. Okay? So it's same thing as a human, right? When we were young, taking a lot of food and drinking a lot of milk are important. In order for us to become, physically strong, we have to become taller and bigger when we are young. However, at the age of 20, right, we need to change our focus to grow physically, right, to grow internally, right? We have to input more on the brain, right? If you don't eat, right, good food for your brain, then you are getting bigger and bigger, but you cannot create anything. So it's same thing for nation. GDP per capita at the same time. Size of GDP doesn't matter. If you have more population, of course it becomes bigger. But important thing is GDP per capita, per person, how much they earn. At the same time, how about the inside of their economy? What kind of attitude they have as a person or as a nation? So same thing. If you look at this, Japan had to change to focus on physical growth to internal growth. Thailand is also needed, and China also need to shift. So again, if you look at this, when developing stage to middle income, no exemption, all countries can grow. So same things, right? If you see the kids, right, all kids grow up to a certain level, right? But it doesn't ensure that your life is successful or not, right? In order for you to be successful in your life, right, you have to study, you have to train physically, not only physically, but also your mindset. So it's same thing for nation, okay? So for Asia again, this is a very significant challenge for the Asia, especially for India and for China. Okay. So, right, in order for us, right, to continuously enjoy growing, we have to overcome 4 barriers. Okay. First one is, as I explained, middle income trap. Okay. Second one is demographic challenges. I'm going to explain. And the third one is urbanization, right? Problem of urbanization. Okay? Problem of big city. Okay? Last one is political corruption. I'm sure at your country as well, right? You might have problems, right, with corruption. I still remember when I went to Laos, right? And when I arrived to airport, it was good because, Laos government and JICA and the Laos Japan Institute, Laos National University, had sent us, the people, the driver and the car, right? And some police escorted us, right? All the way, we go to visit Biarao, we visited, some government institute, right? They escorted us, right? But the last day, right? We had two days free time. Right? You saw Taro-san's picture with, some clothes with Lao flag, right? And that period, right? We rented the car because we thought, okay, we want to drive, we want to explore ourselves, right? About the downtown of the Lao, Vientiane, right? And when we drove, right, some police caught up us, right? And they asked us to pay money, right? And we pay like, okay, maybe 100 bahts is enough. They said, I don't have, Laos money. Right? They said, Thai baht is fine. Or even Japanese yen is fine. Or US dollar is fine. Right? So I gave 100 bahts. But he said, no, it's not enough. Right? If you don't give more, give me your passport. Right? So Taro-san gave 200 bahts. Right? He said, not enough. Show me Japanese money. Right? And then they asked us to give more money, but it was 8 years ago, right? So then we called, the government person. Now we are caught up by police, right? So someone can help, right? And then they said, the police became very nice to us, and then they escorted us to our hotel, right? But like that way, that kind of corruptions are everywhere, not only Laos, right? Vientiane. But also you can see a lot of corruption in China, Thailand, right, or Vietnam. Right? So this kind of corruptions are very significant barriers for the nation to grow up. Right? So we have to overcome those 4 barriers, and we can see one by one very quickly. Right? The first one, middle income trap, as I explained. Right? This is a scenario of Asian Development Bank. And if you see the report called Asian Century, right? If you have read the report, I'm not sure, right? This is their scenario. By 2050, right? Our GDP in Asia increased by 10 times, right? So the size of our height becomes like this, right? This is the century of Asia or Asian century. This is very famous report, right? And this is pessimistic scenario, right? So if something could happen, right? They predicted our GDP size becomes like this much, right? This is trillion US dollars, right? But this is like 4 times or 3.5 times, right? So the reality could be in the middle somewhere. 10 times to 3.5 times. Right? Reality could be there, but no one can predict it. However, my point is why the scenario brings that big difference between optimistic scenario to pessimistic scenario. Right? And if you read the paper, right, the reason could be middle income trap. If we are still stuck in the middle, right, middle income trap, then our growth speed, right, becomes 1/3 of growth, of expected growth, right? So this is middle income trap. And if you look at this, right, if we saw that graph, right, we can say, okay, now, right, 21st century will be the century of Asia. Maybe Chinese people think it's a century of China. Indian people think century of India, right? Because they are looking, right, timeline like this. Since 1960s, 70s, we are growing, right? And if you look at this kind of graph, right, people tend to expect like this growth, right, this shape. However, if we look back history, right, we have already came same road before, like this, right? If you look a little bit longer time of the period, right? So the point is, are we now in the stage of this graph, or if we already reached in here, right? So it's depending on us. What kind of future are we going to create, right? So the point is we have to learn from the history, why we were here before, right? But why we went down like this much in the blue curve, right? This is something that we have to learn from the history. Okay. So not only China, but also many other countries. There were many emerging countries, right, in the history, like Brazil. Do you know BRICS? Right? Just a few years ago, 10 years ago, people are talking about BRICS will be the next economy. Brazil, Russia, right, India, and China, right? But now only China remains, right? So same thing, Mexico in 70s, right? People are talking about miracle of Brazil, right? And in the 60s, right, Burma, right, is the most potential, highest potential country in Asia. People were talking. Philippines, right after World War II, described as Asian developed country, not Japan at that time. And Sri Lanka was like that. But if you see the current situation of Philippines, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Mexico, Brazil, right? They were not grown as expected, right? This is a reason. This is the reason why I said not many countries could ever have overcome middle income trap. Right? Even though most people are talking, those countries, right, has a potential, right? But they couldn't overcome. Still they are in the middle. Okay? So if we want to know more about those history, I recommend you to read this book, right? Breakout Nations. Breakout is what kind of nation can break out those walls. Okay? So how we are going to overcome middle income trap is important. Okay? Skip. So if you look at this, right? What kind of things you can tell? Right? I don't like to teach that much, so I don't give you the answer right away, but I want you to learn by yourself, okay, at a business school. So if you look at this graph on the left-hand side, what kind of things you can tell? This is a little bit more advanced, right? But what kind of things you can tell? Any comment? This is slightly difficult, right? Okay, this one, right? Again, this horizontal axis is GDP per capita growth, right? And this one, vertical one is total productivity growth. Have you ever heard this term? If not, I recommend you to Google it, right? Because anyway, if you want to work for the government, if you want to work for the big company, right, these kind of things are very important, right? Okay, so I can just explain because we don't have that much time, right? So if you look at this one, right, this is a graph from 1990s to 97, right? And do you know what happened in 1997? Does anyone can tell me what happened in 97? Do you remember? No? No idea?
Economic crisis.
economic crisis, right? Asian economic crisis happened around that
ต้ม
period.
ยำกุ้งอ่ะ
Yeah, this is what we call Tom Yang Kung crisis because it's coming starting from Thailand, right? Right? And then 2008, right? We had another crisis, Lehman shock, right? This is what we call hamburger crisis because it happened in the States, right? So again, this kind of crisis, right? Every 10 years, we have a crisis. About every 10 years. So history repeat, okay? So as a business person, right? Not just only looking for predicting future, but we have to learn history. We have to learn, right? From a lot of knowledge from the past, right? And in order for us to learn something, we need to be able to analyze and read this kind of information. Okay? So like crisis, right? It's not crisis actually. Every 10 years something happens. Right? 97 we have Tom Yang crisis. Before we had a crisis. Before we had a crisis. In 2008 we had a crisis. And now we had a crisis. Ukraine crisis, right? COVID-19 crisis, right? After 10 years. So next, after 10 years, we might have a crisis. Okay. So the history repeat. So, but we don't know what kind of crisis we will face. However, what we can learn is when people face a crisis, how successful companies or successful nations responded to it. And why some companies, some nations went down. Right? Because it's the same context, right? Same situation. Everyone was facing crisis. But some companies manage very well, but some companies fail. Some countries fail. So the important thing is by learning from history, right? We can learn from other person or other nations' failure. Right? So we cannot fail by ourselves, right? Otherwise our country collapses or our companies go bankrupt. Right? However, right, we can learn from others' failure. Right? So, right, a lot of learning from failure are the essential for you to be successful. So if you look back this one, right, before the crisis, right, if you look at this, right, there are some countries named, right, and if we plot based on the nation, right, do you know correlationship analysis? Have you studied? No. Okay. So if you know this kind of plot, right, plot is shaping like this, right? Then we have positive correlationship. This is how we read the graph. Okay. So if correlationship is 1, right, this could be on the line of this black line. Okay. So correlationship is from between 0 to 1. Okay, 1 is very strong correlation. 0 is no correlationship. Right? If negative, right, it's like this shape, the other side. Okay. But if you don't, if you have had this kind of term first time in your life, right, I think this is very good chance for you, good opportunity for you to learn, okay, to catch up with, other business person, okay. I'm not just, complaining, but I think this is opportunities, right? There is only 2 persons. When you find out, oh, this is, I don't know, then someone give up. The other person, oh, this is good opportunity for us, right? To learn, to eat the good food, okay? So I think you have to train your brain. It's same thing. If you don't train, physically train, you become fat, right? If you're always sleeping. So not only physical training, right? Your brain, right, has to be trained. Okay? So like this way, right? If you look at, right, these numbers, right? Like Thailand China, Korea, right? They are far from this line, right? This 45 line. Meaning that, right, their growth is not coming from productivity improvement, right? Meaning that if, you are dot, right, you are this, position like Japan, right? This is very close to the 45 line, right? Meaning that when Japanese GDP grow, meaning that it's coming from improvement of productivity. Okay. So meaning that if they are far from here, right, their growth is not coming from improvement of productivity, but their growth is coming from investment from outside. Okay, so this is if you understand how we calculate GDP, right, you could understand the point. Okay, but if you look at this, right, my point is, right, if comparing with 1990 to 1997, and after that, right, 2009 to 2014, do you see any change in the graph? Do you see any change in the graph?
Yes. China.
Yes.
Yeah.
What you can see, what kind of things are different from the other side to recent one?
The color is blue and the red.
Blue and red. Yes, of course. Yeah, blue and red. Yes, yes. Anything else?
And they have a small and bigger than 90 to 97.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Anything is fine. Anything is fine. Important thing is try to think. Okay. Any other opinion?
For my understanding, productivity is reduced, but GDP may be the same. Like the position of yes.
Thank you. Yes.
I compare the left side graph and right side graph that you saw for the red one. I see the productivity is reduced from the left side. And this is the left side. But GDP percent is nearly the same. Yes, for my understanding.
Okay.
For my opinion.
Yes. With you. This is what we are sharing. We are just sharing the opinion. Right?
For my opinion, if we focus on China, we will see 1990 to 1997, and compare with the 2009 to 2014. We will see in the 2014, the China will decrease on of the GDP per capita and the productivity if we compare to the 1997. Right. But I don't know what's reason why they decrease.
Yes, but it's good. At least you are trying to.
But not only China, on of the Asian economy. because the red dot is the Asian company, Asian economy.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else want to?
Maybe China has more investment from.
Yeah, right. China has more investment,
and they have many of the factory. So they call they will be the world factory. So that's why the GDP per capita is high.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Right. So if we look at this, right, a lot of Asian countries, like red one, right, are far from this 45 line, right, in the period of 97. So this is the reason when financial crisis happened, right? They were influenced negatively from the crisis, okay? Because investment stopped from outside, right? Because crisis influenced to everyone, so people stop investing to outside, right? Because, right, they don't have afford, right? But like countries like Japan, right, has a less impact, right? Because it doesn't matter no one invests to us because we are improving ourselves. Okay. So that before, when we are young, when we are kids, right, we are fighting which one is taller, right? But around one period, right, people don't care how tall you are. People care about what is inside, the quality of yourself, quality of nation. Right? So in 97, right, Thailand ran, right, quite a lot. So they changed the way they grow. Right? They shifted, right, to inviting investment to Thailand, right, to acquiring knowledge, right, absorbing technologies, right, so that they improve total productivity factor, right, so that, right, now they are very well balanced, right. Most of countries they learn, right, from this crisis. So this is the reason when hamburger crisis happened, right. One of the reasons, right, there are a lot of other reasons, is, right, they shifted, right, their way they grow, right, from depending on, right, investment to improving their productivity. However, if you look at China, they are still relying on input factor rather than productivity factor. Okay. This is a big problem of China. Okay. So before everyone can grow because of population bonus, right, and foreign direct investment, outside investment, everyone can grow, right? But I'm not going to explain these things because I see you are tired, so I'm not going to explain this one anymore. Right? But point here, right? I skip several slides, but in the future, if you want to learn, you can come back, right? But this one, if you look, right? Chinese government, right, are also smart people, right? They have a lot of smart people. So they know the problem, right? They know the problem of their growth. Okay. So this is, if our growth proportion is 100%, right? And the red color is contribution of productivity of the growth. And the blue one is just inputting, money and inputting labors, right? So in 2004, right, most of growth are coming from input factor, but less improvement of total factor productivity, right? In 2005, still they grow, right? 2005 to 10, but still, right, most of growth are coming from input factor, right? So for Chinese government, they want to increase this red bar. They want to increase contribution factors. Right? This is, I think, what they are trying. So if you look this, right, by 2030, right, this is what they want to expect, right? The balance, proportion of their growth. But I think this is very difficult. Now 2022, so meaning that they might have a problem in the future, right? This is because problem of China is problem of Asia, right? Not only their problem, right? This is also problem of us, right? Because now world is globalized. Okay, so you might want to remember, and after a few years or 5 years, 10 years, right, if something happens, you can start recording, right, about this class. And the second barrier, right, is population. The issue of population. This is what we call demographic challenges. So if you look at this, this is Japanese aging rate, right? So when we say, aging society, meaning that if our population over 65 years old is more than 7%, this is what we call aging society. So if we look at Japan, right, already 1980s, right, we are already got entered to aging society. And if over 14%, this is what we call aged society. Right? This is the definition across the world. So already 2000, right, we already entered aged society. And Japan have been facing aged problem, right? A lot of older people, right? We have to support them, and the government have to support them, right? And if the proportion becomes 20%, right? This is what we call super aging society. If you look at this, Japan is already super aging society, right? This is the problem. And aging society, aged society, super aging, and will be super aged society, right? But if you look at this, right? This is a birth rate, right? So how many kids, right, we need to keep in order for us to population stable? So like Pata Wolf-san, he has a kids, 2 kids, right? So if everyone has 2 kids, and if no one dies, then we can maintain our population, right? But if 2 kids, like sometimes, the small kids, sometimes, they have a disease, right? So in order for us to maintain our population, right, this is a line, right? This is about 2.1 or 2.08, right? If it becomes below than this, right, we will have, shortage of babies. So if you look at this Laos, right, you have 3.0 now. So you are still okay. Cambodia still okay. But Japan 1.43, and Thailand, if you look at this, 1.4, and China 1.6. Right? So this is a problem. And another problem is, right, not only number of babies, number of older people. The problem is how long does it take time for the one country to shift from usual population to aged society, right? In Japan, right, usually all countries, right, if your economy develop, right, people don't have a lot of kids, right? Right, before our grandfathers, my grandfather's period, right, they have a lot of brothers and sisters. They have 5 or 6 kids. This was common. And even China, a lot of people said, oh, my father has 8 brothers and sisters. And how about Taro-san? How about your grandmother? How many brothers did they have? 6, right? And how about you? Right? You had a lot, right? But point, it's same in the US or France, Sweden. But point is, how long did it take time for companies to shift from aging society to aged society? Right? France, it took like 115 years. So meaning that they had a lot of time to prepare for aged society. Right? US 70 years. Right? Germany, right? They had more than 40 years. But for Japan, we had only 24 years. So this is the reason why we are facing difficulties. All nations will face this problem, but point is the speed. So this is the reason why all nations say, oh, Japan has a problem, right? If we look at, right, if compare with all advanced nations, right, this is the truth. However, if we look at, right, in Asia, right, we're gonna face much faster than Japan. Right? So even Japan, we have a lot of national security, we have pension, we have hospital system, right, and GDP per capita, right. As a person, right, people are wealthy, but still we have a problem. Right? We have an infrastructure, right, but still we have a big problem how we're gonna continue. But if we look at Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, right, you have to prepare within 19 years. Right? Thailand, right, is 23 years. Right? So, and this kind of structure we cannot change. Oh, now we have a problem, so everyone has to make baby, 3 baby, 4 babies. Right? And if you decide to make a lot of baby, but you know, the result, right, will take 15 years. Right? So this is the problem. This is what we call structural problem. This is not something like, if, okay, we have a problem, so if we respond it, but we can solve it. It takes very long time to fix it. Okay, so this is a very big problem for Asia. Right? I'm not sure how many of you understand my point, but this is a very big issue. Right? Even Japan, we have issues. So how about other countries? They are much poorer and facing the same problem. How we can continue, right? How we can keep our nation. So if you look at China, it's same. And the problem is they are big, right? They are big. India is also big, right? So this is very big problem. And Thailand also has a very big problem. And if you look at this, right, when they will face a problem, it depends, right? So if you look at this, China, Thailand, Vietnam, they will start seeing a lot of problems from now, right? Because they already got entered to aging society. But if you look at Laos, right, you will face difficulties and it will hit very negatively to you because you have only 19 years. However, you still have time, right, to get entering to aging society. But once you get into aging society, to become aging to age society is very fast because your slope is very high. So meaning that you have 18 more years to prepare to be ready to support elderly people. So you have per capita per household increase as much as possible. In Japan, like when we face to age society, our GDP per capita is already 20,000 up, but Thailand case is still 8,000. So poor people, but same problems, right? These things same happening to China, and China is too big, right? So this will face, this will cause a lot of problems. So this might be one of the reasons why people are fighting, right? Why people are shooting the other countries because they don't have option anymore. So the world war, right, fighting each other at the nation level is not problem of army, right? This kind of population problem, economic problem, management problems are also part of our problem. Okay. So as a business executives, right, top executives, we also need to think, right? If we want to make peaceful world, right, we have to plan how we can overcome this kind of problem. Okay. And I'm going to explain more one by one. So speed of aging is problem, right? Important. And not only speed, when they get enter to age society, how rich you are, right? So crisis of poor old people. This is a problem of Asia, right? Crisis of poor old people, right? And who wanna support us, right? And this is the Asian country share, right, of social security, right? How much we spend for the social security, pension scheme, right? That kind of, because if this is not much, you cannot maintain your nation, right? And it is coming soon. It is coming soon. Maybe we can die peacefully, but your kids, right, have a problem. It's same thing for Japan. I think my kids have a problem. It's same thing for China. So this is our problem as Asia, how we can help each other, right? So like if proportion, right? China, even China, they had a big issue, super big issue, but you know, they spend this much for the social security, right? Pension and hospital, that kind of thing. They spend too much on the army, right? Or too much corruption for a lot of countries, right? So we have to overcome that kind of things, right? And if you look at this, right, how we could survive, right? We have this kind of problem, right? But now, right, for example, Thailand before, right, they are poor, but still they help each other. So they take care of kids, right, as a village, right, as a town, right? So their parents even are not in the village, but other people within the village take care of each other, right? But urbanization, now people are living in Bangkok, then, right, no one take care of their kids. And so that kind of micro community roles are getting smaller and smaller, even in Thailand. Same thing in China. Then how we can complement that kind of support? We are losing community support, right? Or helping each other, that kind of mindset. Right? I think maybe in Laos, Vientiane, same thing is happening. Right? So that, right, we have to complement, right, with some other way. Okay, so I'm not going to explain more in detail here, but third barrier, right, is urbanization. Right, it is linked. Each problems are linked to each other. Okay, but I think this is time for the break. Sorry, Taro-san didn't mention about break. So sorry. I continue too much, so why not you take 10 minutes break, right? And I will continue rest of slide. Okay. So my point is, you know, we have a very bright future at one side, right? But the other side of coin, we have very big issues. So same thing, sunshine, right? If sunshine is very strong, it's bright. But the other side, we have a shadow. So as a leader, executive, you have to see both sides, right? And the shadow is not only problem. Shadow, the darkness will provide you to shine because you have a knowledge. Do you remember the Titanic example I said? The light will shine in the darkness. So this is the reason why you are educated, right? This is the reason why we are investing a lot for the human resource development. So this is a role of Laos Japan Institute, I think. So I think you have issues, right? And this region have a big issues. So we need you. Okay. So please have a 10 minutes break, right? And coming back. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. ขอบคุณครับ で、太郎さんなんか、ちょっとナルシストっぽく一生懸命どうした？
いや、このワイシャツが、襟がなんか気持ち悪いなって気がするもんだ。
今日何時までにしましょう。
今日はいいじゃないですか、いつも通り半とかで。あと
30分ぐらいかな。
8時、こっちの8時半ぐらい。
今そっち、そうか、2時間違う。なんかみんな疲れた感じだね。
いや、でもまあ、今日は本当最後だからみんな、あれじゃないですか、最後振り絞ってあるじゃないですか、元気で。でもまあ、興味深そうに聞いてる人多かったです。
まあね、これなかなか難しいといえば難しいけどね。まあでも、他、ね、国の人たちと競争しようと思うと、ね。あと5分ぐらいかな、休憩。10時から始めましょうか。30分スタート、最後。
そうですね。まあ、
はいはい。まあ最初じゃあ、瀬古さん、なんか、57分ぐらいから3分ぐらい、みんなとちょっと会話して。
じゃあみんな、よく戻ってます。57分ぐらい。
瀬古先生は、バンコクでおられますね。
はい、そうです。はい。つい、最近帰ってきたんですよ。10日ぐらい前。
も
う僕2年間日本にいたんです。
2年間
はい、コロナで。
日本に戻って。
最近戻ってきたんです。それまではずっとリモートワークだった。
私の憧れた、番組が、作った人が亡くなったの。
誰ですか？
志村けん。
志村けんね。すごいですね、志村けん。そんなみんなに知られて。
COVID ね、で亡くなったのでね。
そう。残念ですよ。
結構外国人に対して人気があるコメディアンだけどね。わかりやすい。
わかりやすいですよね。
あれがいいっすよね、本当に。
アクションも。ちょっと少し。
オーバーで。
少し、なんとか、日本人では多分下品と言われるかもしれない。
でもわかりやすくていい。
でもわかりやすくてね。いいですよね。
あれ、ポンキオ先生ね、僕タイにいるから、タイのテレビとかたまに見たときに、例えば漫画でね、一休さんとかね、あとはなんか日本のバラエティ番組たまにやってたりするんですけど、ラオスとかはやっぱ日本のそういうアニメとか、 まあ、ドラマとかバラエティー
やはり、タイのおかげで、タイの番組のおかげで、
タイの番組映りますもんね。
見られますので。ラオスの番組から直接日本のアニメがあまりないからね。私、ちょっとあれ、なんだっけ。
ドラえもん
ドラえもんね。
は
翻訳しましたのね。大交換まで。
おお、すごいですね。
翻訳しまして。それはもうちゃんとオーナーからのコピーライをもらって、日本語をラオス語に訳しました。日本語から。
藤子不二雄。
はい。藤子不二雄。
藤岡先生の家の近くに藤子不二雄の、昔住んでた家があるんですよ。
そうですか。東京ですか。
そう、それが今ミュージアムになってるんですよ。藤子不二雄だけじゃなくて、いろんなね、有名な、方が、同じアパートに住んでたのが面白いでしょ。40年前。50年前。
そうか。
だからそこがなんかハブになってるんです。本京先生、おしんとかも知ってますか？
おしん。はい。そうですね。日本の
女の子がいじめられてる。あれも結構タイでね、人気あって。
そうですね。結構、まあ、こっちも、見ましたよ。たくさんの人。ちょっと古いけどね。
そう。僕が子供の時ですから、もう40年前ですけど。あとあれ、そうか、一休さんとおしんは、なかなか日本の、そういう道徳教育、モラルエデュケーション。すごい、タイの人ですけど。
まあ、代表っぽいね、社会の。
そう。
考え方。問題、社会のこと。
でも、僕日本人ですけど、日本も、1980年代ぐらいに、ちょうどポンキョ先生が日本行ったぐらいの時までは、
そうですね。
なんかちょうどそのドラマとかテレビとかも、すごいシンプルで、わかりやすかったんですよね。正義と悪がちゃんとクリアに分かったりとか、バラエティとかも、さっきポンキョ先生が言ったみたいに、笑いがすごいシンプルだったんですけど、90年代とか、2000年代に入って、なんかちょっとね、もうドラマとか映画とかも、もうなんか全部コンプリケートになって、あれ、日本人にも分かりにくいから、アジアの人でも面白くないっていうか意味が分かんないから。
そうですね。私、タイの番組ね、で、アメリカのテレビ、アメリカのドラマ見たらね、結構複雑でね。なんとかの関係がね。
でも、コリアンのドラマとかやっぱシンプルじゃないですか、今でもストーリー。
ストーリーね。
タイのドラマもシンプルですけど、
シンプル。
シンプル。わかりやすいから。
わかりやすい。だいたいね、タイのドラマはね、ちょっとわかりやすいすぎますので、見たら、これから、この男とこの女と女、これから喧嘩するだな、とか、そういうギャップが多いので。
大体喧嘩して起きるよね、お金持ちの人と。
男を奪うために、だけが喧嘩し合う。なんとか分かりやすいすぎるみたいな。
分かりやすすぎる。ちょっと面白くないですか。
それは、タイ語では、ละครね。フィルムはちょっと真剣に作ってますけどね。でも、ละครとかテレビのละครね、ドラマね。ちょっと、あまり複雑じゃないので。
そうですよね。
ある国の、ドラマを見たら、結構、なんとか、 いいな、感動できるくらいまでね、なんとか勉強できるとか、その時代、その社会のこととか、なんとか、感動しますね。なんとか。
じゃあ、最後の30分、しましょうか。
Hello
everyone.
Come back.
Sorry for you to come back here. Này. Ngoài mai cấp, ngoài mai.
เมื่อยไทยกดถ้าบึงM1ป่วยเนี่ยเหนื่อย
M ป่วยมวย
กูชื่อว่าเมื่อย M
เหนื่อย
似てますねタイ語ではなんとかなんとかไม่とかラオス語でなんとかボとかอีสาน
なんとかおเหนื่อยボสบายดีボ
そうです
そうなんですね
ボสบายと言ったらねボสบายってまあ元気じゃない
ไม่สบายボสบาย
あと美味しいよねアロイでしょいはセラオス語ではセ
アロイって言わないんですね
アロイはないセボとか
センボって言うんですね
ママはセブユーとか
センユ
セブユー
最後はなんだろうね
美味しいけどそんな感じね
サヌクボ
サヌクボ
ボサヌでしょ
มวนบอเฮียนมวนบอ
ม่วนอาจารย์ม่วนหลาย
มันหลานとても楽しいで
それポンケロ先生それタイガービアですか
ラオス
ラビアだね僕も見た
ビアラオが一番人気ですよ今1分ちょうビアラオ
今日はうちだから今日は私
So everyone can drink and you can study with drink. You don't need to listen, in front of the computer, right? No, I'm saying seriously. You can eat and you can drink, right? Because just concentrating for 3 hours is too painful.
そうですね。別の話だけど、先生がもしラオスに来る機会がありましたらね。
はい。
ね、私たち学生みんな一緒に先生をなんか一緒に飲みましょう。
はい。
学生と私たちと。
はい。
私まだ特別に先生を連れてもし行きたいところがありましたら。
はい。また日本に来た時も僕連れて行きますから皆さん。はいでは。
そうですか。ありがとうございます。まあこれから勉強しましょう。
はい。
はい、もう時間。
はい。Okay, so let's start. Last 30 minutes. Right? So after 30 minutes, you can enjoy your life, your evening. Right? So you don't need to see our face anymore. Okay. So I will continue just a few more slides. Okay. So now you see the slide.
Yes.
Okay. And the third barrier, right, is so-called problem of urbanization. So if we look at number of population in the world living in urban city, now, by next 30 years, the number of people living in the city will be increased 72%. Okay, so this is a picture. Have you ever been to Bangkok? Right, so if you visit Bangkok in the evening time, right, it will be now like this, same as Tokyo, right? And this is the picture taken just nearby my office, right? Of course, I have office at Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok, but I have another consulting office just next to central department in Bangkok, right? It's just in front of my office. Every day, every evening, I like this. Right? How about traffic jam in Vientiane? It's not this bad, right?
Not much. Just only the time when we go to office only.
So I think this is a big problem of Thailand, right? And also Philippines and also in Indonesia, they have a big problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we look at this, I just skip, right? Actually, the traffic jam. Like if you look at this, I'm gonna show you the another numbers later on. But do you know how long the Bangkok people stay in the car per year? Can you guess? Every year, how long? How many days do you think they stay? Usual business person stay in the car. Can you guess? We have only 365 days per year, right? But every day we have this traffic jam. For me, you know, if I drive in the night time, my house to university, it takes just 10 minutes, right? But in the morning and evening, and if it rains, right, it takes 2 hours for me, right? To just 10 minutes.
Around 1,000 hours a year.
1,000, yes, hour per year is how many days, Taro-san?
40.
Oh, อาจารย์ป้องแก้วฉลาดมาก Do you understand my Thai? Like actually 44 days. 44 days per year. The Bangkok people living in car. Right?
44
days.
44 days. Time by 24.
Yes, so very similar to Ajahn Pongkeo estimated.
Yeah. Because I estimate around 3 hours a day. That's why I time by 365 times by 3 is around 1,000.
So if they drive every day, right, they waste 44 days, meaning that we have 365 days per year, and 44 days it's just wasted, right? Meaning that, right, this is a problem. But if you look at other side of the coin, this is the opportunity, right? Because we have population problem, right? Age society problem. We don't have money in Thailand. However, right, if we improve a little bit on the traffic jam, right, there is a lot of rooms for us, right, to improve our productivity. Don't you think so? Right. So this is the reason why now I'm on the board member of one of the largest Japanese transportation company. Right? So I'm of course teaching at the university, but I'm on the external executive board of traffic companies. Right? One of the reasons is we want to help these issues. So now we are helping them to improve their transportation system, like traffic lamp, right, and also bus. Right? Because in Thailand there are very old bus around. So when one bus stops broken, then the traffic become worse. So we are trying to give those bus, because in Japan, after 20 years, we cannot use it anymore. It's still new, very new, right? And it's very expensive, but the Japanese regulation doesn't allow us to use. So a lot of bus company, right, if they use 10 years, 12 years, then, right, we have to break it down. So if we can just give it to Thailand, for example, or Laos, right, you can use very nice, high quality transportation over there. Right? So that kind of things we are trying to help now. Right? And also another way is for us to promote smart city, right? But smart city, right? We have to improve the quality of life of the people living there, right? So for us, smart city, we have to be environmental friendly, right? Economical friendly, which has to lead the happiness of people. So one way is government initiate. This is what we call government driven. Right? Other way is company initiate. This is company driven. But I think on the top of that, right, we have to work with people living there. Okay. And if you look at this, right, this is the population living in the city. Right? In 1950s, we have only 29% are living in the city, right? But 2040, right, 65%, right? And 2050, 70-something% are living in the city, right? So the space of city, urbans, are too crowded. So if too crowded, we have a lot of crimes. We have a lot of environmental program, traffic jam, education program, and that kind of things are happening. So how we can help, how we can improve, right? Then by using technology, right? We have a lot of advanced technology now. Right? This is the concept of smart city. Okay. And before, right, there are 21 mega cities with over 10 million people. Right? And the largest city is Tokyo, 36 million, right? By 2025, right? 8 more cities become mega city, right? And out of 5, right, are in Asia. Okay. So we have to adapt, right, how we are going to overcome. And this is a number, right? So if you look at this, 44 days, right? They spend 44 days per year, right? And the number of cars registered in Bangkok is 4,109, and actually more cars because sometimes they use without registration, right? So this is 4 times as large as numbers of cars in Tokyo actually. So of course they have a traffic jam, right? And also, because of traffic jam, they waste a lot of oil, petrol. Nowadays, the oil is very expensive in Bangkok. A lot of people in Thailand complain, oh, it's too expensive, and the same as in Japan. So if you can save a little bit more, right, it will give a lot of positive impact if we can improve it, right? And this is traffic jam simulation in Bangkok. Right. Oh, there are a lot. Right. I'm not going to explain one by one, but this is average speed, right? Morning time and evening time. Average speed, right? In 2015 in Bangkok, it is 15 kilometers. But this is average across whole day. Right? So if rush period, right, is even worse sometimes, right? All cities, right? So it's across all cities. So some heavy traffic part is much slower. But if you look at this, we don't see that much big improvement, right? So for us, right, in order for us to overcome the problem, right, the role of Japan, right, because we are not young anymore, we are old country, and our population is decreasing. However, we have technologies, we have experience, right? So that kind of experience and the technologies, right, we don't have any place to apply in Japan because we have less market. However, if we move, right, to Asia, there are a lot of people living, right? There are a lot of issues they are facing. So for Japan, now we are aged society, super aged society in Japan, right? We have a lot of issues, right? So in Japan, if we talk about this, everyone becomes, a little bit right? Because we don't have any solution. We are shrinking, right? Everyone knows. However, right, if we look at in Japan, we cannot change, we cannot escape. However, if we try to grow Asia as a whole, together with you, right, there are a lot of opportunities. Right? We can provide technologies, but you can provide market. Right? Like this way, right, we have to help each other. We have to build mutual development each other. Right? So this is very simple. Right? So this is what I have been doing with JICA. Right? And human resource education, I think this is one of the most important for us. So this is the reason why I have been working in the kind of support of Ajahn Pongkeo and a lot of other people. Right? We are now working. So what I want you to know is the term called noblesse oblige. If you remember the term noblesse oblige, noblesse meaning that someone who has the education, experience, family background, it's noble, like royal family, something like that. So like you, right, who has a chance to study, right? You have your own obligation. This is French term. In French, there is some very noble people, and most of people are poor before. So to be able for you to manage people, to have a good position or higher position in the society, you always need to remind noblesse oblige. What is your responsibility? Right? The term responsibility, right? You know the meaning, responsibility, right? But to respond for the business executive is to respond to environment, right? And responsibility is respond plus ability, right? Combining this, we call responsibility. And ability is to be able to, right? Something what you can do. So the meaning of responsibility is respond. You have an ability to respond environment. Okay? We have a COVID situation. We have a crisis, right? Maybe in the future, Taiwanese and the Chinese crisis might happen. Ukraine crisis happen, right? But we have ability. You have ability to help your own people in Laos, your own people in your companies, your own people within your family, right? This is a responsibility, right? So same things, right? The reason why I intentionally use a lot of accounting terms, right? In order for you to be responsible, right, you need to be able to accountable for something. So accountability is account for. Account for is to explain something, right? Plus ability. So you have an ability to explain of what you have done. Okay. So this is a language of business person, right? So this is the reason why we need to think about noblesse oblige, and as well as we need to be aware of accountability. So if I talk about these kind of things, a lot of people say, so you are studying management, how you can help society. I have been in the business school for 20 years. Many people complain to us. Right? So this is what we have done in Thailand, right, about Royal Project. Right? So I don't have a time to explain about Royal Project, but by doing a Royal Project for us, right, we help a lot of people in the village, right, and their income, household income now became 9.2 times greater than their original income. Right? So if we look at, if you have a chance to visit Thailand, I'm going to show you around Royal Project. Right? And Taro-san can also bring you to the project. And we can explain how management knowledge helps them, right, to be sustainable. And now you can see even their shop in the airport of Thailand. And we have a lot of shops, coffee shops, souvenir shops. And so management can help people. And this is the current problem of all of the world. Do you know what does it mean? 87 equal to 1, 2, 3. How much?
3 million people. 500.
3.5 billion.
3.5 billion.
So what do you know what does it mean? It's mathematically wrong, right? 87 should be equal to 87, right? This is a usual word, but it's something wrong with our word. 87 equal 3.5 billion. Do you know what is this mean? Actually, this is only these 8 people has their wealth of 3.6 billion people. Right? Of course, people say because they are great, they have done something good. Right? I agree, they have ability, right? They are successful. However, I'm not sure if this kind of things what we want to create. Only 8 people can own the wealth of 3.6 billion people. Right? Nearly half of the world population's wealth are owned by only 8 people. And a lot of people are dying every minute, every day. They cannot eat. Right? How we can change the world? How we can use our brain to change this kind of structure? Right? This is what I have been doing, and this is what I have now doing research with a lot of my colleagues. So one of the way we have done is Royal Project, and now we are doing some other project to think about this. So in the future, right? If you have a chance, right, we are always welcome for you to join, right, to make our world a little bit better place. So actually, when I was still, very fresh student, right, means that I just about to finish my doctoral thesis, right, my professor told me, right, hey Taka, right, you shouldn't think about your own success, right? You are successful enough because you get the degree from University of Oxford, right? But I'm not giving you for yourself the degree, right? I want you to be significant, not something like just a success, right? Success yourself, but significant. So significant, the difference between significant and success is only for you and your family. But significance is the amount that you can save the people. You can change the society. You can contribute to society. So we are producing people, not successful people, but we will focus on significance. And then I thought at that time, I know what you are saying, right? Doing something good for society. But if I do something, right, I cannot change the world, right? Because even Bill Gates cannot change. Why only me, after studying, in the UK for 8 years, how come I can change the world? Then that professor, he was a dean, right? The dean of University of Oxford, right? Very famous professor. And before he was passing away, he passed away already. But in the hospital, he said, I know you think you cannot change the world. But he said, we cannot change the world, right? Of course, because the world is too big. However, you can be the world for someone. If you have a kids, right? For kids, you are the world, right? So now I'm helping only 4 or 5 kids. Right? It's not my kids. Right? Someone who lost their parents with tsunami or some other reason. Right? The reason why I'm doing this is I cannot change the world. But for those 4 or 5 kids, right, I can be the world. So if we do this, right, one by one, I think we can make our world a little bit better place. This is what I think. So when you study something, right, learning very difficult formula, mathematics, concept, right, those kind of things, are good. But I think this is not your purpose, right? So I want you to think the purpose, and if we can share a purpose all together, right, in the different countries, different places, different universities, right, I think we can change, something a little bit step by step. And so now we are formulating this kind of platform, right, as some of our students joined with you on Saturday. All of them are members. So now we have around 400 corporate members for us to make this kind of a better world. And we have like 3,000 individual members. And so that now, before I started just within 3 people, right? But now I think we can start, building some hospital, some schools, right? And we can spend much more spare time for us to do education. Right? So in the future, right, I'm very much looking forward to collaborating with you. Okay, so I cannot explain this, detail in detail. I have a lot of examples here, right? But today I don't have enough time. Okay, but before closing, we have how long time do we have, Taro-san?
3 minutes. 2 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, so I think I can wrap up. Right?
Please.
So, do you see the slide?
Yes.
Sorry. So, we want to change this kind of situation, right? So this is something that we have been working with professor in the States for a very long time. If you have ever heard base of the pyramid, have you ever heard the concept? Usually before it was called bottom of the pyramid. So meaning that, this is the pyramid of population. Most of people are living with very limited money every day. And some of the middle class and only few population, right, are in here, right? We have 7 billion people in the world. So the shape is this. Actually, top part is even much more smaller. And most of this group are who cannot eat every day, right? And when we do management, when we say customers, right, what we are doing, what we are fighting is only for this small corner of the people, someone who can afford to buy our product, right? And we are fighting that much very small population. But if we can change, right, if we can help these blue people, right, we are not just giving out, right? The shape could be like this, so that we can develop market, right? We can make big pizza, right? Rather than fighting small pizza each other, why not we make big pizza to make a life of base of the bottom of the people better, right? We can change the population shape like this. Right? So this is what we call pyramid to the diamond. So why not we just go for like the diamond, society. Right? This is what I'm thinking. So for Japan, right, people are talking, right? We are getting old. We have a lot of problems. However, if we look at the other side of coin, we are issue advanced country. We are not economically advanced anymore, but we have issue advanced. We have problem advanced countries. So meaning that we are now facing a lot of problems with aged society. But as we studied, in Asian countries, all countries will face the same problem called aged society. Right? So for Japan, right, we can take advantage of facing difficulties now, and those experience not only for us to use for Japanese society, but this experience we can share with China, with Thailand, with Laos, right? So that we can make better society. This is what I think, right? And this is what we have been working for the AEC, but AEC has done already. But slogan of AEC is battlefield to the market. Right? We don't fight each other in Mekong region anymore, but we have to create a market in order for us, right, not just connecting the road, but connecting the regulation, right, and connecting people. So I think the activities, the reason why we spend a lot of time with exchange with Japanese and Chinese students, with Laos students, is I think people-to-people connectivity is a core for us to grow together. Okay, so I think this is my final message, and I want to share with you a lot of my thought. However, unfortunately, we don't have enough time, and you have to enjoy your dinner with your family. Right? So I think studying is important, and growing yourself to be successful in your career are important. However, right, please do not forget what is the most important things as a human, as a people. And I want you to be, take good care of your parents, your kids, your family. And if you have a little bit of hope, a little bit time, I want you to think outside of your family or someone who cannot eat, right? And you are the selected people. So this is a reason. I believe everything has a reason. So this, time of the is this Tuesday evening. You are listening this kind of talk, right, in the evening, rather than enjoying your dinner time with your family. But there is a reason to listen this kind of things today, right? So by taking this kind of opportunities, right, I hope I need your help to make our society a little bit better. And in the future, right, sometimes nation and nation will fight, right? Chinese and some other nation might fight. But I think, right, people connectivity, if we understand each other at the individual level, I think we can overcome this kind of problem of capitalism. Right. So this is my message today, and I just would like to express my great appreciation. Thanks to all of you for your patience, right, and for your time. And I'm very looking forward to seeing you in person in the future. And you are my students already. So anytime, any chance, right, if you need our help, my help, please feel free to contact me anytime. And last but not least, I'd like to show my appreciation to Ajahn Pongkel to giving us such an opportunity, and Vito Wasan for your kind support. Right, so thank you very much. Sawadee krap, khopun mak krap.
Sawadee.
So Haro-san want to say something in last? Thank you very much.
Yeah, so first of all, I thank you, Pongkel Sensei and LJI staff so very much for giving us this opportunity. And I thank you all students attending this very, very intensive 8-day course. So from tomorrow, we are not each other students, but friends. And then, yeah, so Japan is not strong as it used to be. So they cannot survive by themselves. So they need your help, and they need your advice, and they need your cooperation. So in some particular situations, so you can lead Japan. So please help us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But we are weak. We are weak so that we support each other. If we are too strong, we don't need any other one's help. But we are weak so that we can help each other. Right? So I need your help, and Japan need your help. And of course, we're going to help you. So thank you very much. Sawadee krap. Please have a good evening, and I hope all of you happiness, right?
Yes.
And your success. Sawadee krap. Jean-Paul, thank you very much.
Tsukaresama desu.
Tsukaresama desu. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you very much.
Annyeonghaseyo.
Bye.
Annyeonghaseyo.
You.
See you.
To see you next
Thank
time.
you.